Hello, everyone. Today we are going to go over the Sonar Starter kit and how you can go through and look at all of the different features and data that is available to you. When you first log in, this is the page that the Sonar will take you to. It is our lane signal app. This app allows you to quickly type in an OD pair and pull up all of the necessary information that you need to give you the correct insights into what is happening on that lane or market. I'm going to do a quick tutorial navigation walking through the different global pages and features that are available to you. Over here on the left-hand side, you will see global pages. We have a list of different pages that are built by FreightWaves employees. You cannot change them, edit them in any sort of way, but it does allow you to have quick access to some of our top information. The first one is the critical events. Critical events allows you to see different weather watches, warnings, allows you to track hurricanes, and also allows you to see what assets are in the path of any type of weather warnings or watch. When you zoom in, you can see all of the different highlights on the weather outlooks. We have flooding, tornado, we have tropical storm, and hurricane. You can click on anything and it will show you, for example, Hurricane Laura, we have a hurricane path, when it's going to hit certain areas, and gives you all of the different informations on that. You zoom in, you'll see all of these different circles. So these circles are what we call assets. Assets are anything from refineries, airports, canals, ports, railroads, and if any weather event happens on or near any of those assets, there could be potential danger and freight disruption simply because this fuels a lot of the freight market. We also have different overlays that you can view. We have a radar view that you can put on here. We have clouds. You can view day and night view. Get it back up a little bit. View day and night view. And you can view precipitation. So there's a lot of different layers that you can add onto this, and I think it is huge when you're looking at maybe a snowstorm, a hurricane, any type of major weather event that could cause flooding or disruption to the freight market. We also have what we have right now is a Hurricane Laura global page, and this kind of identifies impacted markets for Hurricane Laura. So on the left over here, you can see we have the Critical Event Center again. The bottom left, we have our haul weekly change. So this indicates if in the last week haul has increased or decreased. Any blue markets, that means our head haul index has increased in the last week. Red markets means it has decreased. Haul is the difference between freight going out of a market versus freight going into a market. Any of these whitish color markets means that it is a balanced market. There's the same amount of freight going out versus the freight coming in. Or I like to think about it as loads sitting on a dock waiting to get picked up is outbound, and inbound are loaded trucks coming into that market. They're going to get empty and cover that freight that is on the dock. So when you see a white market, that means that there's been no change. It's been the same that it has been in the last week. So this is really good when you can see, you know, how much volume is moving, how much capacity is moving in and out of a market. So looking at these blue markets indicates that there is, it's moving to a positive. So when it's moving to a positive, it's moving to more freight going out than coming in. On the right-hand side is our volatility widget with the impacted markets for Hurricane Laura. So you can see Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth, New Orleans, San Antonio, Shreveport, Austin, Mobile, and Jackson, Mississippi. We are tracking 4 different data sets: outbound volume, outbound rejections, head haul, and tender lead time. The bottom number of each one of these widgets shows you the current value. So for example, Dallas, Texas has a 26% rejection rate as of yesterday. So 26% of all freight coming out of Dallas are being rejected. The top number indicates the weekly change. So in the last week, rejections have actually gone down about 1.5%. But when you can see, like over in San Antonio, volumes have increased. So there's 20% more freight going out of that market this week than there was this time last week. Anytime you see a colored box, that means there is, it's kind of going out of its normal based off the 365-day weekly shift. So when you have a green box, that means that that is moderately, for example, this on San Antonio, moderately of an increase based off of the last 365-day weekly change. This is out of that normal. So this is a market where there's a lot more freight moving out of that market than typically. When you have a red market, that means that there is a decrease. So for example, San Antonio rejection rates are down 10% week over week, which is a big weekly change relative to the last 365 days. So red means decrease, green means increase. You can always click on the video widget or the video global page, and it goes in depth to this market volatility page. The next one is our rejections for the impacted market. So we have Houston, Dallas, the same markets on the volatility widget, but it's on a chart. So you can see the change over a given time. So you can see this is San Antonio. Rejections have drastically gone down in the last week. And then we've seen a couple have a little bit of increase here. So this is good to kind of see every day, are things increasing? Are they decreasing? So you can make actionable decisions. Rejections are the key indicator when it comes to price. When a lot of people are saying no to freight, that drives price up. It's all about supply and demand. The next page over here is our US summary page, and this is a little bit more of the high-level overview of the freight market. Take a minute to come up here. This is the year-over-year volume change. So volume means freight going out. So this is on a national level, just to kind of see where we're at compared to 2019. Volumes have got completely increased since, definitely since the beginning of May, but more significantly since 4th of July weekend, we've just seen a little bit of a sharper curve here. Compared to last year in 2019, there wasn't too much volatility. It was a pretty flat-ish year, especially compared to this year. So looking at volumes is all about demand. How much demand is there in the market? And when you can break this down into each market, and I'll show you that in a second. And you can see, okay, well, there's a lot more demand, say, in Dallas or in Los Angeles compared to a different market. So you can have better targets when you're talking about maybe sales opportunities. So you know if capacity possibly will tighten, just so you kind of have an idea of what's happening in the market. All of this data is updated every day with a one-day lag. So the data you're looking at today was from up until midnight of yesterday. So you have a one-day lag when you're looking at this information. Rejections are the leading indicator when it comes to price, like I mentioned earlier. When a rejection is when somebody says, no, I do not want that load. So when a shipper tenders over a load to a carrier or to a broker and they reject it, that is what this is telling you. So when loads fall through the waterfall, when you see a bunch of freight on the spot market, that means a lot of people have been rejecting that freight. And where we're at today in the nation is 25%. So 1 in 4 loads in the country are being rejected right now. And that number just keeps slowly climbing up there. You can see based on last year, we were hovering around that 5, 6, 7%, and we are up to 25%. So that means there is a lot of, there's tight capacity out there. People are rejecting freight, means rates are going through the roof. This next page just highlights the correlation from volumes to rejections. I also will mention anytime you're looking at outbound tender volume, that is all equipment types, van, reefer, flatbed, all of that kind of combined together. So you're looking at volumes in blue and rejections in green, and you can see how they do correlate over time. You can also view, like I mentioned, van, flatbed, and reefer. So van rejections are in blue, flatbed is in green, and refrigerated is in orange. And these are rejection rates. So reefer rejection rates for the country are at 34%. Dry van is about 27%, and flatbed is about 7% on a national level. This is looking at outbound tender rejections versus national rates. So the orange line here is the truck stop 7-day van rate per mile. So the van rate per mile is updated every Monday, so it's a weekly number, while our data set is a daily number. So that's a little bit of why there's a little bit of a difference here, but you can see that when rejections start to increase, price follows that. So knowing that, hey, when rejections are starting to creep up in a market, you know that price is a little bit lagging, but it's going to be coming up there as well. So knowing when rejections are increasing, rates are going up. When rejections are decreasing, rates are going to be going down. So rejections are that leading indicator because rejection happens at tender. Rates usually are displayed through other data sources after they deliver. So you are getting insight into what is happening before that rate updates into other databases. So you get that leading indicator when it comes to what your rate is going to be. We also have length of haul data sets as well. So you can view different mileage bands of rejections. So the blue line is local, which is 0 to 100 miles. The green line is short haul, which is 101 to 250 miles. The orange one is mid haul, which is 251 to 450. Tweener, which is in purple, is 451 to 800 miles. And then long haul is in yellow, which is 801 plus miles. So you can break this down into a market as well and actually see which length of haul is pulling rejections up. Tweener, which is in purple here, is usually one of those ones that are a leading indicator. It's usually a bad utilization lane, you know, that 600-mile lane for hours of service. It usually kind of gives that day-and-a-half transit. So those are typically the ones that are rejected the most. When that number starts to go down, I assume that capacity is starting to loosen up a little bit because carriers are taking whatever there is available in that market so they can keep their trucks rolling. The next one is our CV19 dashboard, and I'm going to kind of hit these a little bit quick because a lot of it is the same type of information. We have our volatility widget on the left for all markets, not just the ones that are impacted by the hurricane. We have the weighted rejection index. So what this does is it takes into account how big a market is for its rejections. So if you sort this by highest number, you can see that Ontario, California is a large market. They also have high rejections, which is why they have a high WRI. So it takes into account a market size. So if you have a typical small market, maybe somewhere in North Dakota or Montana, and they have a sharpened rejections, well, that market's not very big, so it's not going to affect the market like Ontario does. So the higher the number on the WRI, which you can see for the value right here, the more struggle there is for finding capacity. Just because rejections are high and it's a large market, you're going to struggle. Down here in the bottom right is our head haul index. So this is what I talked about earlier. It is the difference between freight going out versus coming in. But this is not a weekly change. This is a daily number. So you can see anything in red means that there's a lot more freight going into that market or trucks going into that market relative to freight coming out. When you see a blue market, that means there's a lot of freight going out and not enough trucks to cover that capacity. So it just gives you a quick glimpse of how balanced is a market or how imbalanced is a market. And this updates daily. The next one is CV19 Trucking Dashboard here. And on the left-hand side, we have a market table. So this is a watch list that has all of the markets on the left-hand side, and then all of these different data points on the top. So you can see haul, inbound tender rejections, inbound volume, outbound rejections, and tender lead time. The bottom number on each one of these is the most recent data value. All of these are updated every single day. So this is yesterday's data. So for example, let's go down to the Atlanta market and we look at outbound tender rejections. Yesterday, there was a 23% rejection coming out of Atlanta. So freight going out of Atlanta, 23% of it was being rejected. The top number is showing a day over day change. So in the last day, it's increased about 1.5%. So there's more freight being rejected day over day. And you can look at that for all of these different data points. Over here on the right-hand side, we have gauge charts for our truckstop.com 7-day rates for our top 103 lanes for truckstop.com. We have it for flatbed, van, and reefer. The bottom number over here is a 52-week low. The top is a 52-week high. The number in the middle is what the current rate per mile is. So for example, Atlanta to Baltimore, we are hitting that 52-week high as of Monday for $2.86 all in rate per mile. And you can look at it for van and reefer. The next one is for CV19 maritime data. So this is just quick view of imports and exports by port. So the left-hand side is export, the right-hand side is import. These top left boxes means that it is the largest, this one is the largest port that has imports. So Los Angeles is the largest, and day over day, we have an almost 2% increase. Bottom right is the smallest. So that is kind of how you read a tree map here. Top left to bottom right, top left to bottom right. The last one on the global pages is our video tutorial. Our video tutorial, there's a lot of other different videos in here from past events, from our featured videos from FreightWaves Now, all of those other different types of videos. But these instructional videos, I would say, are one of the more important ones that you can look at. So you can look to identify, we have some webinars in here, we have in-depth of Sonar watch list, our volatility widget, that you can kind of click in and really get to know what you're looking at. So feel free to take a look at their short 12 to 15, 20-minute clips. Up here in the top right-hand corner, we have our moderated chat function. If you have a question, please feel free to come in here and ask it. It is anonymous, so you'll be given a number, so nobody in the Sonar community will know who is asking this question. Then we will have somebody in our FreightWaves team, our market experts, our customer success team to be able to answer you and let you know what that answer is without having to send an email or a phone call. You can do it straight through moderated chat. The next one is our Sonar Sue. So anytime we have an update, it will be in here for you to be able to read about it, whether it's new data, new features, anything along those lines. The next one is the question mark, our Knowledge Center. Our Knowledge Center is a huge help. It has everything from understanding the data, what the data means, different widgets, pretty much everything that you need to know about Sonar is in the Knowledge Center. The next one is contact us. If you have a question, if you need help, if you want to do a demo and really have us help train you on this, send us a message through here. This will come to customer success. So you'll be able to get in touch with customer success. We'll be able to help you and make sure that you're started and ready to go. The last thing we're going to cover today is probably where you'll spend most of your time. This is lane signal. This is in our app section in the top left-hand corner. Lane signal allows you to type in any type of OD pair. So you can type in an address, a zip code, a city, it doesn't matter. You can type in anything that you wish, and it will pull all of the data up based off what you type in. Over on the right-hand side is just the lane plotted on the map. And right here we have sonar signals. So this is signals for origin, which is Atlanta, and destination, which is Chicago. This takes into account volumes, rejection, rates, all kinds of stuff kind of added into this sonar signal, and it tells you where the buying power is. So where's the buying power in Atlanta? And then where's the buying power in Chicago? So the Atlanta is around 61. So it's leaning a little bit toward more carrier, but I would say that's a little bit more of a neutral market relative than Chicago. So Chicago's heavy, it's a 76. It's a lot closer to 100. So when that driver gets to Chicago, they'll have a leg up when negotiating freight in that market because Chicago is a carrier have the power in that market. When the number is closer to 0, shippers have the power in that market. And as brokers, a lot of times we do act as shippers to our carriers, so then brokers have the up in that market as well. Right underneath that, we have our today's rate. So what our rate is for today, the weekly change for rate, monthly change, and yearly change. So for Atlanta to Chicago, we are up all across the board, week over week, month over month, and year over year. The bottom left-hand corner here is some common language, some talking points that you can talk to your customers or to your carriers about on this lane. So this is telling you Atlanta volumes, rejections, and head haul is all up. And it gives you a little bit of information. So volumes coming out of Atlanta are mildly up from a week ago and increased significantly year over year. So when you're talking to a customer or talking to a carrier, you can confidently talk to them about where volumes are at. We are increasing. There's more freight shipping out of this market than there was last week and than there was last year. And you can be confident about that. Talking about rejections. Rejections are up since a week ago, which adds pressure on rates. So when you know rejections are increasing, you can confidently tell your customer that rates are increasing as well. Looking at the back end, you can see Chicago. Volumes are up in Chicago, rejections are up in Chicago. So when drivers are getting there, they know that there's freight available for them. They know that they can get a decent price because rejections are up. So it just kind of helps you talk through that data quickly and efficiently. Over here on the right-hand side is what we call our predictive rates here. We have a rate for today, 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year in the future, 1 year in the future. We also have it ranging from a low, mid, to a high rate. We have 2 different fuel surcharges. This kind of is a little bit more for assets and carriers where you can put your miles per gallon and fuel, what you pay for fuel and all of that in here. Or if you maybe you're a broker or shipper and you have a rate scale, you can change this to whatever your fuel surcharge is, and it will adapt or change this total here for all-in rate. These rates are based off of the operational cost. So what does it take to run on a truck from point A to point B? And then it adds other factors into it, like our volumes, our rejections, historical information, and gives you what that rate should be for this lane. There's a lot of market volatility going on in the market today in the freight world, and it's really hard to capture what that does to the algorithm. So I like to use this as kind of a baseline. So for August, or I guess leading up into Labor Day weekend next week, this is what that rate would be normally, with a little bit of influx in volumes and rejections. What people are paying out there has a lot of emotion driven in that. When it's hard to find capacity and your shipper needs freight covered, you're going to pay more than you typically would because it's hard out there. You're going to take a truck if they give you a rate. So there's a lot of emotion when it comes to price, and you could pay something very different than somebody else. So I like to use these rates as a benchmark to identify what it should be to the carrier, and know that the market is crazy right now. So obviously rates are going to be a little bit higher than that. Just like when the market was way down back in April, when rejection rates were so low, everything was shut down, people were paying below cost. Ours is a cost-based model, so our rates are never going to show that below cost. So really just talking through it and talking to customers, talking to carriers, and identifying what this rate should be, and knowing that you're going to have to go up or down from that based off of market intelligence. Time series is the same thing, but it gives you a 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month look back and forward looking. So you can see here, back in March, we had an increase where it kind of bottomed out here, and then where we've been slowly increasing since the beginning of July. It also gives you a 6 month outlook based off our algorithm that takes into account operational costs to the truck, volumes, rejections, all of those other factors added into the algorithm done by our data science team to give you what we predict the rate will be going. We do think that rates will eventually go down, and this updates every day, so it feeds the new information from the volumes and rejections we get daily. So this does update daily. I like Lane Signal because you can quickly type in an OD pair, you can quickly get some information that you need, and you know where you have this buying power. You know, if you're sending a driver to Chicago, that's a good market. So you can be confident in saying, hey, you'll get to Chicago, you'll have an easier time finding freight out at a higher rate, take this load for this price, or whatever the case may be. So you can really negotiate, and as a carrier, knowing where you get to go, where your freight is, where your destination is super important, because that's what loops you around. So knowing where you're going and where you can get the most bang for your buck is important as well. If you guys have any questions about this, you want to talk to somebody, want to really understand this platform, please email cs@freightwaves.com or sonarsupport@freightwaves.com. We want to make sure that you guys totally understand this and that all of your questions are answered. I hope you guys are all staying well and staying healthy, and thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Jessica Hale, and I'm part of the customer success team, and thank you for stopping by and being a part of the Sonar community.